He's zooming somewhere.
They didn't let him out of the room.
Okay,
He is in
6
Italy.
o'clock, good evening to the January 10th meeting of the governing body. I'll call this meeting to order. If you will give your attention to Councilwoman Ortiz, who will provide the invocation. Stand as you are able and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I want to introduce to you Pastor Gregory Durant Sr. He's the founder and pastor of the True Light Missionary Baptist Church located at 2046 Southeast California here in Topeka. He's been the pastor for 25 years, born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, studied at Friends University in Wichita, Kansas, Bethany College, Lindsborg, Kansas, and Washburn University. Pastor Durant is married to Linda, his lovely wife, for 48 years. They have 3 children, Tanisha, Greg Jr., who is deceased, and Manuel, 6 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. And he says he's still learning how to be a husband and a parent. On Sunday, Bible study, Sunday service starts at 11 o'clock with Sunday school at 9:45 to 10:45. Wednesday evening Bible study is at 6 to 7:15 at the Lighthouse at 2021 Southeast 21st Street. And I know all are welcome at his church. And I want to say he has one of the baddest music directors who will move you off of your seat. So you should go check her out. Am I right, Pastor?
Yes, you are.
All right. Please pray for us.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you tonight, thankful for all of the blessings that you have showered down on all of us. Thank you for the privilege of serving you and serving this city. We pray, Father, for this governing body made up of the mayor and the council, women and men, that as they proceed tonight to make decisions concerning things about this city, we pray for your guidance. We pray for your wisdom. We pray for your knowledge. We pray, Father, that you would lead them in directions that will make life better for all citizens of this city, and also decisions that will bring glory and honor to you. Bless this meeting. Let them be of one accord as they make decisions on this evening. We ask it all in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend.
Hey, you might want to join the club,
I know.
the No Hair Club for men.
Okay, we'll move on to the roll call, if the clerk will read, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Here.
council members Hiller,
Here.
Valdivia Acala, Ortiz,
I'm physically here tonight.
Emerson, Kell,
Here.
Nager, Dobler,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
and Hofer.
Here.
We have 7 present. Council members Valdivia Acala, Emerson, and Nager are absent.
Thank you. We have, move on to item B is applications.
And we have minutes of the regular meeting of January 3, 2023, and there are no applications.
Thank you. I skipped over that part. Thank you. Okay. You've heard the consent agenda. Is there a motion from Councilman Dover, Deputy Mayor Dover? You got to get used to that. You have a second? Second from Councilman Kell. If you'll call the roll, please.
Okay,
Well, do we have? We can't.
It's okay.
council members Ortiz,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
and Councilmember Hiller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay. So comments from the side were that, can we use the voting buttons, or because of absentee or Zoom, are we
We
prohibited?
do not have it on this evening, I'm sorry.
So we
Because we
can't?
anticipated
Oh, we don't
Zoom
have it.
participants,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 3, action item, if the clerk will read.
A is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Stephen M. Wade, amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinances by Section 1850-050 of the Topeka Municipal Code on property located west of Southeast Adams Street and 200 feet south of Southeast 37th Street, from PUD C4 Commercial District to PUD M1 two-family residential uses on approximately 6.05 acres.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, this comes from the Planning Commission with the recommendation to approve.
Are there any questions from the council members? Is there a motion before the chair? Excuse me, I saw my cue, thank you. For this item, there is a requirement that we reveal any ex parte communications that may have occurred in relation to this item. So I'm obliged to read this. Prior to proceeding with the vote, each member of the governing body who is engaged in an ex parte communication with any individual, either in favor of or against the matter being considered, must state that that communication occurred and indicate that even in light of having engaged in the communication, they were able to fairly, objectively, and impartially consider the measure based only upon the evidence provided on the record. The record includes the Planning Commission minutes, the staff report and its attachments, the public comments made during the Planning Commission hearing, and similar relevant information related to the matter. So having read that, I asked members of the governing body, has anyone had an ex parte communication that they need to make known at this time? No one in the chambers? None? Seeing none? Okay. So now we have a motion from Councilman Kell, a second. Okay, second from Councilwoman Hofer. If you'll call the roll, please.
Council members Kell,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
and Ms. Ortiz.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Move on to action item 3B, if the clerk will read.
B is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Stephen Wade, amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinances by Section 1850-050 of the Topeka Municipal Code by providing for certain changes in zoning on property located at 401 and 501 Southwest Gage Boulevard from R1 Single Family District and PUD Planned Unit Development with R1 Single Family District and O&I 2 Office and Institutional District to PUD Planned Unit Development with O&I 2 Office and Institutional District for interior storage and I-1 Light Industrial District per approved site plan.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, we discovered a technical issue since last governing body meeting. It is our request as staff, the governing body vote to remand this back to Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a
Just
second.
as a point of clarification.
I have to read the ex parte piece first.
Well, also, when you vote to remand, you have to give a reason why you're remanding back to the Planning Commission, so the motion needs to be a little bit more complete.
I wasn't trying to make a motion.
I'm going to read the ex parte communication caution. Prior to proceeding with the vote, each member of the governing body who is engaged in ex parte communication with any individual, either in favor of or against the matter being considered, must state the communication occurred and indicate that even in light of having engaged in the communication, they were able to fairly, objectively, and impartially consider the measure based only upon the evidence provided on the record. The record includes the Planning Commission minutes, the staff report and its attachments, the public comments made during the Planning Commission hearing, and similar relevant information related to the matter. And as stated in a motion to be made, there should be a reason for that, there needs to be a reason for that motion. Is there a motion the body to consider? Councilwoman Hofer.
In light of the fact that in light of the fact that the property owners were advised that they would have an opportunity to comment on the changes made by Oil and Gas subsequent to the November 21st meeting, I move to remand the recommendation to the Planning Commission to conduct another public hearing to consider additional public comment.
You've heard the motion is read.
Just point of order, do we have to reveal ex parte communication before we take the vote, even though it's to remand it back?
No, you do not.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we've heard a motion on the floor to remand. Is there a second?
I'll second it, and I also for discussion.
Second by Councilwoman Ortiz. Open for discussion. Councilwoman Ortiz. Thank you. Before I was shot down by our city attorney over there. Bless her heart. It was said, and that's why I said, it was said it was a technical issue. Is that the technical issue? Is that okay? Are we good now?
Yes, that is the technical issue.
Okay. I knew it was, but I wanted to make sure.
Yes,
Of
ma'am.
course, she got shot down. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Friendly fire. Councilwoman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Along with that question, I'll maybe sort of reiterate it. Apparently, some of the issue was using the terms public hearing versus public comment. And we've not run into that before, so maybe it just was unique to that particular situation. But it is a problem for us to have stated that this is a public hearing in this, and in which case, can it reset the, whatever it's called, the objection?
No,
time
this
period?
will not reset the protest period time under state law.
Okay.
That's what you had said before, but we were using that term in the motion, so I want to make sure.
The Attorney General opinion on this specific issue says even if you remand back for an additional public hearing or additional public comment, it does not reset the protest petition clock.
Okay.
Councilman Duncan.
Are we not allowed to do that, or do we have to specifically state that in the motion?
You are always allowed to restart the protest petition clock, and you do that voluntarily. You could state that you want to send it back and you want to voluntarily re-implement a protest petition clock. You can also honor it if people wanted to file a protest petition. Then if you had the 20%, you could choose to voluntarily honor it. Really, the ball is in your court under the Attorney General's opinion on that. You could choose to do that now or choose to do it if one was filed. It would totally be up to your discretion.
Okay. What I don't know what my colleagues do or don't want to do, I will then not vote for this unless it includes that. I understand what the Attorney General says. I very much appreciate the very detailed legal counsel we have received on this, but I think we screwed up. I mean, and sometimes it's okay to say we made a mistake and we want to correct that mistake. And I know that through this process we've been reminded that we are judges in this, and that's right. And we need to look at what the law allows us. But as I reminded my attorney father and all the judges I do know, they also say that they always measure what is fair and equitable. And I think it's fair and equitable for us to at least consider reopening that 14-day period if we reopen that hearing. I understand what that could do, but so I would rather support a motion that does that. I have a few other comments on this, but I don't know if you want me to wait on those or say them now. So.
Are you offering an amendment to?
Well, I don't know that it's a friendly, so I'm not going to offer a
Okay.
friendly amendment. I'd rather have the discussion with my colleagues to see if there's any direction there, because I don't want to offer that. I don't think it's fair to offer that as a friendly.
Councilwoman Hiller and then Councilman Kell.
I was going to suggest that we do that. Is the Councilwoman Hofer, are you okay with adding that to your motion? Well, I certainly would encourage it and would support it.
Councilman Kell.
Yeah, I would support that also, just to kind of make it clear and apparent of what we're doing and not short any one of any situation. So I agree with adding the amendment to it.
You seconded it, right?
Okay. Councilwoman Hofer.
sat on the Plan Commission for 5 years and frankly had never gone through a protest like this. And I wouldn't have known to counsel anyone to say, a protest is available to you, but you have to do it now. I do not know if this was offered during the meeting, so I would like to amend this to include restarting the time for the public protest clock. Does that work?
So that's part of
It's a part of my motion.
your motion and not a friendly piece, it's a part of
It's a
your
part of it.
initial motion, okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman Kell?
A lot of seconds.
I was just wondering if you wanted a second.
That's
Yeah,
fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, a second from Councilwoman Ortiz. Further discussion? Councilman Hiller?
I guess if people are comfortable with it, I'd like to see it. I'm surprised that this even happened, I guess. And I'd like to see a communication on the side, maybe to the Planning Commission, that whenever there's been a consideration of changes and it's going to come back, I would think that they would still entertain some feedback from the affected parties about whether that was okay or not. And so I was a little surprised. I'd like to see us always let the affected parties have something to say when the amendments come back.
Thank you. Councilman Dober?
I guess I'd push back against that a little bit. How long have we been doing zoning cases? A few years, right? This is the first time this has happened. Mistakes get made. I don't know that we need to go back.
Maybe not. I don't know how often.
Yeah,
So-
we do a lot of zoning cases through the
Right.
planning commission, so
Right.
I think the process is okay as it is. It just didn't get followed to the letter. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Councilman Duncan?
So, since it looks like we're sending this back, which means it will have a hearing, and I'm guessing will come back to us, I guess I want to make a few comments, and these will be directed, I guess, at the Planning Commission and the Planning Department and the gas company, because these are the questions I'm going to have again when it comes back to us that I just can be addressed as they go through this process. I did look, again, read the document we got and went through the golden rule we're supposed to look at and follow, and kind of went through a few things. The first one was the character of area. This is clearly a residential area with a zoo, a school, apartment complexes, hospitals, a cemetery. Yes, I know it already has some small footprint there, but clearly not as large as this would be. If we look at the zoning and use of nearby properties, the zoo is R1, Stormont is office property, the cemetery is R1, and this is C4. It's clearly a very distinct and different zoning, and it's not just for me about this property, it's about what are the implications for future, anyone future who wants to jump into that zoning, and how we then, once we open that door, what does that mean for us in an area that has clearly not been zoned for this? I am concerned about the suitability of the property because it's surrounded by residential, and there's a school nearby, so I guess what I haven't seen, and I did go back and look through, I don't know if there's been any sort of emergency plan submitted as part of these plans, that if something goes wrong there, what is the plans, because it does have proximity to very public areas where people live and are going to school and working. So I don't know if they're required to do that, but I would certainly like to see some kind of emergency plan from the gas company. And so those are my concerns, and I am concerned that it could detrimentally affect the area. So obviously, I'm not all in on this yet. I am willing to give them an opportunity to convince me, so I'm not totally against it. But those are my concerns, and I just wanted to pass them on this evening while we had the opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate your comments. If I could follow up, I just want to maybe ask either city manager, city attorney, Councilwoman Hofer, who has served on the planning commission, is this kind of an action, could it be described as spot zoning or rezoning? And does that open us up for issues in the future where requests that come to us and like this, it'll set up kind of a precedent for what is allowed?
Spot zoning is not a technical term. I'm happy to provide an in-depth memo that explains exactly what it is and how it works. There's always arguments that argue spot zoning is illegal. Generally, it refers to the singling out of a single small parcel of land for a use classified differently from the surrounding areas. Our appellate courts generally treat this as a descriptive term rather than a legal term, so it's not, spot zoning is actually not technically invalid under our state law. So it goes back and forth. I'm happy to look at this specifically and get you some information before it comes back to you.
I would appreciate it, thank you. Further discussion, further comment? We still have Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of along the lines of what Councilman Duncan said, when I looked at the aerials and the site plans, there is undeveloped land immediately to the south of that property. And so I would second his, again, wouldn't make me vote against it necessarily, but in terms of what that zoning would do with what the options are in that undeveloped land that's right next to it, be worth, I didn't see a conversation about it, so be worth asking, I think. And related to that, three things actually. The discussion pointed out that some of that land is actually owned by the city of Topeka. Are we correspondingly looking at vacating that and giving it to them?
That conversation is not taking place, as far as us vacating and giving it to them. Bill?
Good evening. To answer or try to get a little bit at the question, the city does own some right-of-way that was on paper, but we still owned it. I believe there's talks between the school, city, and One Gas about making that exchange if this goes through. So nothing has been done officially yet, swapping anything.
Didn't sound like it, but it didn't seem like we should be continuing to own what's running right through the middle of the property.
You're correct.
Okay, thank you. And the last observation I had, and maybe it's not a big deal, it just seemed awfully tight for running trucks in and out of there. They did say that the traffic on and off of Gage, particularly I guess now that it's been widened right there, would be all right. And it looks like it's 10 or 12 trucks a day rather than an hour, if I read it right. But it's pretty tight back there. I imagine they thought that through. I'm curious as to whether that means that y'all are moving out totally of the Southeast First Street site. Okay. I'm just curious. It doesn't weigh on it. I'm just curious. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Further discussion? If the clerk would reread the motion, please.
So, motion is in light of the fact that the property owners are advised that they would have an opportunity to comment on the changes made by One Gas subsequent to the November 21 meeting, return the recommendation to the Planning Commission to conduct another public hearing to consider additional public comment, to set the reset the clock for the public protest.
Just say, and reset the public protest clock.
And reset the public protest clock.
Okay, so vote in the affirmative is to send it back to the Planning
Yes.
Commission. Okay. So before asking one more time, any further discussion before we proceed with the vote? Councilman Duncan?
Do we still need to indicate any ex parte? Not just because of the, okay, I just want to make sure we didn't miss that part.
Okay. If you'll call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Dovler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Helfer,
Yes.
Padilla, Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
and Kell.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Motion's been carried. We'll move to action item 3C. If the clerk will read.
C is a resolution introduced by City Manager Stephen Wade determining the advisability of a sales tax exemption in connection with the issuance by the City of Topeka, Kansas of its health care facilities revenue bond, Brewster Place, Series 2022A and Series 2022B, for the purpose of financing improvements to the health care and retirement facilities owned and operated by the Congregational Home.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This came to the council in December. Councilman Duncan, Deputy Mayor at that point in time, asked for some information in regards to the amount of sales tax that would be forgiven. Based on math, we expect that to equate to $135,000, $135,183, $135,183. That's the official amount, which is different. It's less than what I gave to you all in December. If we have questions, I believe that the CEO of Brewster Place, Matt Burns, is in the audience.
Okay. We've heard the item. Is there any desire by the body to have Mr. Burns answer any questions from the podium? Okay. Okay. Well, we've heard the item was read. Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Councilman Dobler. Second. Councilwoman Ortiz, and we'll move into discussion. Councilman Dobler.
Just to refresh my memory, Brewster Place is a 501c3, correct?
That's correct.
They're exempt from paying sales tax now, correct? They go buy a van, whatever, do they pay sales tax on that?
You're not automatically.
I'm not asking you.
I don't know. I'll have to ask for some help on that one.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Burns. I'm the CEO for Brewster Place. I believe that we only pay sales tax, or we're only sales tax exempt on medical items, unless we get exempt through a process such as this.
My question, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Hofer.
I'm curious, just because I'm due bids, has this building been bid out already, or is it waiting to be?
No, it has. We've already bid out the project. It's already actually started construction.
Okay. That was my question.
It's actually a remodel. I'm sorry. It's just it's a remodel and a little bit of construction added in.
So remodel on an existing building that's already there?
Yes.
Okay. I think that was. Okay, and then I had a question. I believe you can answer it. Are there any, is this the only IRB that would be outstanding for Brewster Place?
Yes, ma'am. As part of the original bond deal, Brewster Place refinanced the existing footprint of all their bonds into one single deal. So this would be their sole outstanding revenue bond at this time.
Okay, thank you, both of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any further discussion from the body? Councilman Dover.
Just a comment, and the reason I asked the question is I'm not clear. I looked through the state statute and it appears that healthcare facilities and retirement homes are exempt from sales tax, but apparently not. I guess and frankly, I was ready to vote yes if that was the case. If it's not the case, I'm not sure why we're approving this. So with the understanding that they currently, if they go buy a van to transport the folks that live there, or I guess I can't say a loaf of bread now because we don't have food sales tax, they pay sales tax. I'm not sure why they wouldn't pay sales tax on the construction items for this renovation. So even though I made the motion to approve, I think I will prepare to vote against it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Kell.
Yeah, my issue is, we're looking to try to figure out ways to help on the utility side of things and to kind of cut sales tax out of our available money is kind of, counterproductive, I think, on our part to sit there and say we don't want to increase our utility to a certain point, but then turn around and pretty much wish away so much money or vote away so much money that would be coming in. So I believe I'm going to vote against it.
Further discussion? As a comment, very familiar with Brewster Place, obviously, because they're my neighbors, and know some friends of mine who live there, and I'm appreciative of everything that they've done to provide housing for a senior community, quality housing. But there are a lot of people who don't have that opportunity yet, and they rely on the funds of the city to help them get into a position where they might be able to afford some housing in other manners. And so for me, while I recognize the value that Brewster Place brings to the city of Topeka, I do feel that their fair share of supporting the city through sales tax is important to our economic development in the city of Topeka. So I personally will probably not support this as well. So any further discussion before we move to a vote?
We don't have a motion anymore.
I thought we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. To clarify, can you make sure that there is a motion?
Yes, we
Okay.
have a motion to approve the resolution. It was made by Dobler and seconded by Ortiz.
That's what I thought. Okay. So now we'll move to roll call vote.
Council members Duncan,
No.
Hofer,
No.
Mayor Padilla,
No.
Council members Hiller,
No.
Ortiz,
No.
Kell,
No.
and Dobler.
No.
We have 7 no, motion fails.
Okay. Motion has failed. We will move now to action item D, if the clerk will read.
D is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Stephen Wade concerning motor vehicle claims, repealing sections 335, 010, 020, and 060 of the Topeka Municipal Code.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to defer to City Attorney Stanley. She's kind of the expert on this one.
D.
Always dangerous when you get called an expert. So this is truly what I would consider a cleanup provision. So the city manager has decided to exercise the city's power to be self-insured for motor vehicles. That's allowed under state law. All motor vehicle claims are tort claims, which are handled under the Kansas Tort Claims Act. For all the rest of our claims, we handle those through the city attorney's office so that we can make sure liability is consistently analyzed and that we can resolve claims. When we decided to be insured last time for motor vehicles, we split out the code so that motor vehicle claims only went to our risk management division, which is housed in HR. For consistency purposes, since we aren't going to have insurance, we're going to handle them all through the city attorney's office. It would be nice if the code said that. So we are asking for you guys to fix the code so that all tort claims are treated the same through the city attorney's office. And I'm happy to stand for any questions.
City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I might add, if I recall correctly, this is a savings to the city of about $250,000 on an annualized basis.
Okay, we've heard the explanation from the city attorney, city manager. Any questions? Councilman Dobler. And then Councilman Duncan.
Just a comment in light of the newspaper article, which made it almost sound like we were somehow getting around things that other folks have to do, like carrying vehicle insurance. The deductible, with what we're doing right now, we're paying an insurance company a premium, and our deductible, so to speak, is $500,000. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Makes absolutely no sense, because if we had a vehicle claim that exceeded $500,000,
No, we have not.
so, yeah, makes all the sense in the world. Thank you.
Councilman Duncan.
Absolutely support this. It is the right thing for us to do. So your answer to this question will not impact that at all. But I had this back from a couple people, and So probably just for public, so I don't think this is a hard question. If it is, I'm really sorry. I don't think it is. As we do that, have we looked at, or I guess why aren't we, or do we think we need any sort of umbrella for like a personal injury protection or a catastrophic policy for those really big O's that we hope never happens?
So under the Kansas Tort Claims Act, the extent of a city's liability is $500,000, which is what our deductible already was. Additionally, let's say we had a catastrophic injury that took out a fire truck, for example, that cost $2 million. We do have money in the torts, or in our special liability fund and our risk fund to cover those catastrophic incidences.
Thank you.
So we've heard the item. Is there a motion for us to entertain? Councilman Hiller. Motion to approve on Councilman Hiller, second by Councilman Kell. If you'll call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Hofer,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla.
Do I get to vote on this one?
No.
Sorry,
I didn't think so.
never mind, you do not. Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
We have 6 yes, motion carries.
Motion's been carried. We'll move on now to non-action items, if the clerk will read.
A is discussion concerning the unlawful possession of catalytic converters.
City Manager.
City Attorney?
Okay, I think Taylor's going to put up a PowerPoint. Thank you so much, City Manager. So catalytic converter ordinance in front of you is one that the Chief of Police and I are going to tag team. He's going to answer any questions you have about why you might need it, and I'm going to tag team on the law. So this is an ordinance that was brought to the City Manager's office through the Topeka Police Department because of a need that they saw that was missing in the law. So under state law, there are very little avenues to deal with. You guys don't really know the roadmap. It's not that long of a PowerPoint. So there are very few tools on our books to help deal with theft of catalytic converters, which over the last 5 years have become, sorry, I'm touching the mouse and the keyboard at the same time, it doesn't work. Thefts of catalytic converters have steadily increased over the last 5 years in cities. The city of Wichita was really the innovators of this ordinance. They took on this problem before any of the rest of the cities, and like every good city, we like to steal good ideas from other places. So catalytic converters can be cut off of your car in a matter of seconds. I think it was told to me that it takes an average of 30 seconds to cut a catalytic converter off a car. Because they have no identifying parts, it is very hard to track down where the theft came from. It's very hard to prosecute, so these thefts just never get, crimes that never get solved. The increase over the last 5 years is due to lots of factors, primarily due to the value of the precious metal in the part, as well as knowing that it's very hard to get caught and prosecuted for it. So it's a good crime if you're a criminal, I guess. Law enforcement have few tools to combat these thefts. They're late at night, happens in a matter of minutes or even seconds, and it's very hard for our police officers to investigate, which Chief Wheelis can talk to further. So the city of Wichita, like I said, tackled this problem. They worked closely with former Attorney General Schmidt's office to make sure to craft a solution that would be in compliance with the Kansas Scrap Metal Theft Reduction Act. After working closely with the Attorney General's office for lots of months, they passed an ordinance that is substantially similar to this one in October. Our one tonight is modeled after Wichita. We changed nothing other than the name to Topeka because it really did fit us really well. So the proposed ordinance makes it illegal to possess, accept, process, store, hold, keep, receive, reuse, or collect catalytic converters. There are exceptions for this, obviously, because there might be valid reasons why you need to have a catalytic converter. So those exceptions include if you have proof of ownership of a vehicle from which the part was removed, if you have a bill of sale for the vehicle or part and contact information from the seller, if you have proof of work or service order requiring the removal of the part, if you get a letter from TPD allowing possession of the part. So for example, let's say you received it back after collecting it from a crime, for example, you might get a letter from TPD. And then recyclers and precious metal dealers are exempt and regulated pursuant to state statute in order to stay in compliance with the Scrap Metal Act. The penalty for this would be a misdemeanor offense, and it would be handled through municipal court. And so that is the legal summary of it. Again, if you have questions about the need for it, Chief Wheelis is here and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilman McHale.
Have we also looked into identification markers, kind of like the stickers that we put on bikes that we, as a city, we've done? Have we looked into, it's called Cat Guard.
I believe if I've watched my City 4 News, we already have that, but Chief Wheelis can come talk to us about that.
Okay, good. I've never heard of it, so that's the reason I was asking.
Yes, a couple of years ago, when catalytic converters were at their highest level, we looked into some alternative things. We came up with some engraving kits that we put out for the community businesses and community service organizations. Because that's really the piece here. A lot of the big transport vans and buses are really hit hard by this crime, and that affects a lot of our community service organizations in town, and sometimes the damage is catastrophic. The vehicles that completely disables them. So that's really the piece of it. But yes, we have engraving kits, we've done public education pieces, and we're always on the lookout for new technology. But it is the belief of the police department, through me, that this ordinance is the best piece that we still have missing from our puzzle.
Well, I'm in support of the ordinance. I just thought, this way we can definitely, someone can't say, well, I got it from wherever. If I automatically sit there and say, hey, mine got stolen, you put it out just like a theft of when you put it out to the pawn shops. This goes out to the precious metals and the recyclers, and they say, well, wait a second, we got the stolen one right here, and that way. And then does this require these precious metal places to, and what you call it, the recyclers to document who's turning these in? So if they see a trend of the same person coming back over a time period?
That would all be regulated by the Kansas Scrap Metal Act, so we don't have the ability to influence that, and I'd have to look it up, but I think your fellow council member might have an answer on that.
So, and this is the very short version, and I only know this because, fun fact to nobody but me, I helped write the Scrap Metal Act back in mid-2000s.
So
It still has to be recorded when they bring it in, so they will record what products are brought in by those people, find out who it is, take an ID, so that if they then go to those facilities, they will know who turned those in and can track it that way. So they can do it that way if they have to. Yeah.
And one additional piece, if this ordinance was in place, the majority of all the scrap places have very good audio and video surveillance. This would let us on the back end, if somebody came in with catalytic converters that were detached, that would be a violation of the ordinance. We could follow it up on the back end, issue the citation on the back end. It would give us that piece that gets us away from having to identify the vehicle of origin to make the stolen property piece stick.
Okay, and I equate this to like the pawn shops, when you notify the pawn shops. So I'm all for this because
we wouldn't have to notify them at this point. I mean, we could really just put out if you bring in a catalytic converter that's detached, we are interested in who brought that in.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for bringing this forward. I tell you who it hits us. It's hitting me. I need a Cadillac converter on my Jeep, and it's going to cost me between $1,200 and $1,500.
Well,
And I asked my mechanic, I said, why is it so much? And he said, because of the metal that's in it. And these guys are going out stealing 2, 3, 4, and making, they're turning them in, and they get anywhere from $300 to $400 a piece. So then I went to my muffler guy, and I said, hey, can't you go to the junkyard and get me one of those and put it on? And he said, yeah, if you want to spend 10 years in jail with me. That's who it's hurting us. And I said, oh, well, I better get my little pennies together. And that's who it's hurting. It's hurting the people that are paying. It's hurting me and you. So I'm glad to see this, and I'm glad to hear that there's some way that they can engrave it or mark it, because I was going to get under there and do something, because I'm not going to play that and then have them, my Jeep sits so high, it's easy for them to slide right under there. And you're right, this has been a problem in my district, and I'm sure with other districts as well, but I'm all for this. Whatever we can do to slow these guys down, I'm all for it. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Chief and/or Amanda, does the ordinance mandate reporting from the scrappers, from the scrap handlers?
No, it does not mandate reporting. That would be handled under the Kansas Scrap Metal Act,
Okay.
so to stay in compliance, we avoid that.
But we have really good working relationships with the scrap metal dealers in town, and I believe this would open up, if the ordinance was in place, we could have a conversation about information that we would be interested in. We certainly could make the request for videos and identifications when those come in, as an augmentation of where we might go if this ordinance was in place.
Well, I certainly think it's a smart idea, and I appreciate it being brought forward to the council.
And I would be remiss if I didn't give full credit to the property crime investigators and detectives, because they're really the ones, the driving force that brought this forward. Legal deserves a tremendous amount of credit for finding this great solution to this problem that we're bringing forward. But it really is the police department, investigators, and officers who deal with the victims and see the problems and the financial hardships that caused that have really pushed this forward. So I want to give them a lot of credit.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for you, and if you need to think about it, that's fine too. Most of us went through the cycle where just stealing metal became common, and we tried to deal with it. And what happened, though, was that the more we did publicity about how bad this was and what was going to happen, the more it went up. It was almost like we were telling people what to do and how to do it, how to strip wire and so on. So I'm wondering in this case what your thoughts would be about whether we should just pass this, which I'm totally comfortable with, and just do it and let the word get around sort of through the grapevine, or whether we should do a big publicity thing about it.
3 questions. I always try to think about my answers when I'm in front of you all. 2, I don't know that I would necessarily agree with the theory that because we publicized it, scrap metal increased more than it did. It was a huge problem. I don't think that we necessarily contributed to it. And 3 is the easiest of all those questions. We 100% support this. The area law enforcement officers and that I've talked to, the sheriffs, everybody supports this in the law enforcement community, and we would ask that you would too.
Oh, and that wasn't a question on my part. Supporting it, yes, but just whether we'd be part of the problem if we did a lot of talking about it.
I don't believe so. I believe the problem already exists, and we would be part of the solution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief. All right. I'll ask one thing of the city manager. This is under discussion, no action tonight. Is it set for an agenda item in the future?
Next week.
Next week?
Yep.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve, Mayor, right now.
Give it the week.
Can we do that,
I
Amanda?
appreciate your
You would
enthusiasm.
have to waive the rules.
Well,
I
here
think
we
there's
go.
enough of you here to do that if you would like to.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
I'd like to suspend the rules to make a motion to approve 4A.
Is there a second to suspend?
First, you gotta waive the rules, vote on that, and
Yeah.
then,
Is there a second to waive the rules? Second from Councilman Dobler. Any discussion on that? If not, then call the roll, please.
Okay, Mayor Padilla,
Yes?
council members Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Hofer.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, we waived the rules. Now, entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Been shot twice. I hope I don't get shot down on this one. Make a motion to approve this. 4A.
Okay,
Take her good.
second by, motion to approve by Councilwoman Ortiz, second by Councilman Kell. If you'll call the roll, please.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
and Mayor Padilla.
he doesn't vote.
Yes.
You don't, sorry, you don't
All right,
vote on
that's
that.
right.
I keep trying, don't I? Okay, 6 yes, motion carries.
Look out for me, Brenda.
All right,
Okay,
motion
motion's been carried.
Yep.
So that takes one item off next week's agenda. Oh, yes. Okay. We'll move on now to public comment. I have one person signed up for public comment, Mr. Henry McClure. Mr. McClure?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name's Henry McClure. I'm a real estate developer and a commercial real estate broker. This year, I'm going into my 44th year of real estate. And in this month, 40 years ago, I joined the Macerich Company and started my odyssey of moving all over the country. I lived in 10 different towns, and while I worked for Macerich, I also traveled to different towns wherever to lease their shopping centers and make deals. There isn't anyone in my lifetime, there isn't anybody that's had to change more in my lifetime than me. In every city you go to, even maybe in every meeting you go to, you have to make some changes. I've also made some personal changes in my life that make each day today, easier to live. So what I'm trying to get is, I want to create the opportunity of change here. When I was a Metropolitan Planning Commissioner here in Shawnee County, we did things a lot differently. We would have never had what happened. The chair somebody would have made a motion, hey, let's open up the meeting, and we were much more friendly than the environment today, and that's why I keep telling you, I'm asking you let's go back to a Metropolitan Planning Commission. There is never any downfall of getting more public input, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk tonight. And what I want to talk tonight, because I disagree with the way your contractor who handles your economic development money handles things. You mentioned the word spot zoning. Well, you really can't have spot job identification. You can't really just say, well, wait a minute, that's a job, but that's not a job. Either you've got a job or you don't have a job. And I'm trying to do a deal with Pizza Hut behind Ace Hardware on 29th Street out at California Crossing. And I'm asking for help for you to extend the utilities for that. If you open up the water, if you're attaching to the water main, the existing water mains could be so frail it could create huge burden on the new owner and the developer. This also might find another pot of money for the water department while they open up the hole to maybe do some repairs. But it just seems counterproductive to not support with the economic development funds those that create sales tax. So the very money that you use for economic development, you don't support my Pizza Hut deal. And so I see some real fundamental problems with that. And if you just start doing 5, 10, 15, as you've got extra money, your contractor wasn't able to spend all their funds and you had carryover money. So this is first year projection based on, my best guesses, $43,000 to the city in property tax and sales tax. And you start doing 10, 15, 20 of these, and it starts making a difference in building the tax base. So I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep pitching every time I got a deal. I'm not going to give up. And there will come a point in time that the voting public will start to agree with me. So thank you for your time. I stand for a question if you have a question about the deal. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no one else signed up for public comment, we will move to announcements. Madam Clerk?
Okay, for the January 17th meeting, until further notice, beginning next Tuesday, January 17th, the governing body meetings will be held at the Cyrus K. Holiday Building in the first floor conference room located at 620 Southeast Madison Street. The change in meeting location is due to the municipal building elevator being out of service for longer than expected.
Thank you.
Yep. So on the January 17th agenda, we have 2 appointments. For action items, we will have approval of the 2023 Consolidated Action Plan and Budget. We have an ordinance on the Topeka Municipal Code 3.30 related to contracts and purchases, amendments to that. We approved item C this evening. D is a labor agreement for the AFT Kansas Local 6406. And then we have election of 2 Joint Economic Development Organization Board voting members. And then we have an ordinance for zoning change for property located at 3300 Southwest Van Buren Street. And the non-action items include 2021 International Building Code Ordinance and then the 2021 International Fire Code Ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, if you could give me a little bit of privilege, I'd like to call somebody to the front.
Certainly.
Mr. Bill Fiander, Deputy Fiander, Director Fiander, sorry, if you could come to the front. Mr. Mayor, Director Fiander is leaving us after nearly 26 years of service to the city of Topeka. He's done great things with us, started with Mayor Wagner, and has gone through a lot over the last several years, the last 10 of being director. I'm also very excited for his next venture, that teaching young minds at Washburn University. So as we look at our next crop of public servants, Director Fiander will be at the forefront of that. So I thought it would be appropriate for us, sir, to give Director Fiander a round of applause.
Thank you, Bill. I will add that I have enjoyed working with you since coming on council. You've always responded to my requests, and you've kept me enthusiastic about the future of the city of Topeka with your involvement in many things that I think are necessary for the city of Topeka. So I wish you well as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you all. See you down the road.
Okay. Is it a fixed road?
One with the turn lane.
And I like the new facial hair there, the new look. Hey, city manager?
Nothing else, sir.
Okay. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you. City manager kind of took my thunder there. Bill, did you have anything you wanted to say? I know you went and sat back down, but did you have anything you wanted to say? I'm just offering it to you. I too want to thank you.
Let me just, so everyone can hear it. I want, because I said it back here, but I honestly want to thank you all as elected officials, and you're partnering with staff. It has been, from the beginning, on the front line to the end where I get to deal with a lot of you more. That's all going to be shared in my classroom now. So just know that, and it's all going to be good. It's all going to be trying to get folks, like City Manager said, energized for public service. It's all about serving the public good. And the more I talk about it, the more I don't think I'm really off the beaten path here. It's a fork in the road. The roads are still going down to the same destination. It's serving the public good. So thank you for the honor and the privilege to help you and serve this community.
Thank you, Bill.
I hope that helps you.
Thank you. You have been, I'm going to miss you because we both have history. And when I'm up here talking and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, you'll come up and say, yeah, that's right. That's what we did. So I'm going to miss that. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the bulletproof vest that you didn't get. You know, I kind of want to tell this little story. I had 2 zoning cases that were pretty bad. And I said, Bill, come and get me. Let's do a ride along. And the first one, I thought, wow, we really needed a bulletproof vest for that one. The second one that we thought we would need a gun and more we didn't. He was more calmer, but the first one was kind of crazy. But we made through Bill's little car, got out of there, talked to him, told him what we expected, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing that with me one-on-one and above other things that you did for my district and the city of Topeka. So good luck to you. We hate to see you go, but I understand. One day I'll be saying goodbye too. So
Call me anytime you need a ride.
I will. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't get those ordered in time. I wanted to make sure you weren't mad about that. So I wanted to congratulate Bill, and also I wanted to send out condolences to Jerry Boyd. He was the owner and operator of A's Pawn Shop at 6th in California, and he passed away, and he served 38 years ago. He started that shop, and his son is still down there keeping things afloat, and Jerry would be happy for him. Seems like I'm losing all my little mom and pa shops, but I wanted to send out condolences to him, Mr. Mayor. If I scramble out of here, I'm trying to see the Topeka High boys play Washburn Rural. Should be a good game, and I've got to go.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Kell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three things tonight. First is tomorrow is Human Trafficking Awareness Day. Human trafficking is an illegal act that involves the force, fraud, or coercion to obtain labor or sex. Traffickers use violence, manipulation, and false promises to lure their victims into trafficking situations. Trafficking victims usually experience physical and psychological abuse. These are people that are barely seen, and they feel like they're lost and stuck in that situation from surviving victims of human trafficking. It's something that we all need to look at and try to work as best as we can on it. I know law enforcement is always trying to be one step ahead of the human traffickers to try to minimize it as much as possible. One other thing was, and I'm going to try to read it off. I've said this many times. I'm not pro-gun or anti-gun. I'm pro-gun responsibility. No 6-year-old should have access to take a gun to school and be able to discharge that weapon. There are so many things that could have been done to stop the Virginia school shooting of a teacher by a 6-year-old. There's gun locks, gun safes, putting a gun out of the reach of children, weapon and ammunition stored separately, teaching children that weapons are deadly. We all need to take a look at if you own a weapon, on how it's stored, who has access to it, what options you have in front of you to make sure that you're not allowing a youngster to grab it and go. We've had situations around here where it just seems like the access to guns are too prevalent. And I have an old classmate who lives outside of Newport News, and he says that's just the lifestyle there. And it's just, that's sad when a 6-year-old can just grab a gun and go to school. And everyone needs to look at gun responsibility is, I think, the #1 concern. And it's, like I said, I'm not pro-gun, I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-gun responsibility. And finally, on a happy note, as Councilman Ortiz brought up basketball, this is also the start of a little-known sport that gets a little publicity around this area. It started bowling season today for the area schools. So make sure, you get out to support not just the big sports. I know football and basketball get a lot of attention, but make sure you get out and support the wrestlers, support the bowlers, support anything that you see a family member, a friend, a neighbor being a part of, because it's proven fact that students that are involved in athletics and extracurricular activities have better grades because they're held to a higher responsibility than the average student that's not involved in anything. They have grade checks. They have coaches that are looking out for them. So make sure you support your athletes, the extracurriculars, plays, bands, things like that. So it shows the kids that little bit of sunshine sometimes at the end of the rainbow that they put all that hard work into. Because in the long run, it benefits us all when we have students that are graduating with higher GPAs by being involved. And kind of goes on to Mr. Finder's point of getting involved later on in life also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Dover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add my personal thanks to Mr. Fyander. A little known fact, 22 years ago, I had the pleasure of being interim planning director for about 6 months. It was the worst 6 months of my career. I can appreciate the job that Bill's done, not only for the last 10 years, but prior to that. And he is going to miss. So good luck, Bill. And as you said, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill, I'm always available to be a guest speaker in your class. And after I leave, you can say, see, this is what I had to deal with, these people. So congratulations on the next phase. It was my birthday last Friday. I just want to thank everyone for the birthday wishes. Councilmember Ortiz sent me a nice card and had a little gift certificate in it. Now as I'm listening to her catalytic converter woes, I thought to myself, maybe she needs it back. I'm not giving it back. And as I drink those Sonic milkshakes, I'll think about how to solve your problem, but I'm still gonna put it to good use.
I should have got your smoke detector.
Just two quick announcements. The first is David Wilson was recently elected the bishop of this region. He's the first Native American bishop in the United Methodist Church, and that is based here in Topeka. So he is moving to Topeka this week to make this city his home. So I just want to welcome him to Topeka. And then the second thing is this weekend starts next week is the Living the Dream Week here in Topeka. There's a lot of scheduled events, including their annual banquet on Saturday, I believe. But if anyone's interested, you can go to ltdtopeka.com and see the list of events throughout the week if you're interested in participating in any of those. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hofer.
I'm going to say thank you to Bill, too. When I was on Planning Commission, he was, I think, Assistant Planning Director when I started, and by the time I left, he was in charge of the Planning Department. So I've gotten a lot of good counsel from Bill, and I appreciate everything that you did for me back then, and I was hoping you'd be here for a while I was getting used to this. But thank you. No other announcements.
Thank you, ma'am. Just want to make a quick comment and then, oh, I'm sorry. I ran over there. Councilwoman Hiller, my apologies.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to chime in too, Bill. I appreciate you and have so much. You've always been clear and good about presenting the issues to us. That's important. I know it's part of the professional standards, but it matters. We've got many, many miles between us on issues, literally and figuratively, and it's been progressive. You've been progressive. We've all learned a lot. You've been able to stretch, for instance, with the bicycling and the complete streets and stuff like that, as well as help guide your own staff as well as all of us about what the rules are and the fundamentals are and where to look. And that's really been invaluable. In particular, you were already on board when various folks started working on downtown redevelopment, and we had the design, consultant charrettes and all of that, and pulled it together, and you were very much in the hub of that to make sure we were on track and that happened. You were involved in doing the very first neighborhood plans and getting that whole process going for all of our LMI neighborhoods, and those have been invaluable. And last but not least, and I've said this all along as it started to emerge, and then as it was produced, the dynamic core plan that was done by our own planning department instead of contracting it out about, 2 years ago now, Bill? I don't think we could have, for any amount of money, had a better process or a better plan emerge from that. And I'm inordinately proud of you and your team and of us as a city for doing that. And those are just some examples I'm mentioning, but the sign ordinance, we about killed ourselves on, right? But we got a good one. Lots and lots of experience there. So thank you, Bill. And I too wanted to encourage people to participate in living the dream. There are things going on in the schools right now that people could plug into if they want, and it is on the Facebook page or their website. The big evening events are the big banquet on Saturday night, and then there is the free chili and soup supper on Monday night. So encourage people to participate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Following along that Living the Dream in the month of February, as part of the Mayor's Initiative and Art in our office, that's the next group of artists that will appear will be works done by the youth who are participating in the Living the Dream effort. So I encourage people to take some time, come by and visit and see some of that art It's really pretty impressive. I would encourage, as others have, to give some time and give some thought to why we celebrate the way we do the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, and in your way, participate. I had the privilege of being at the legislative breakfast this morning, saw a lot of friends there. And it reminded me that they are starting their session for this year. We as a council are sitting together and getting ready to start our next year together. And I am encouraged by what has happened in the last 12 months. A lot of that Mr. Fyander had a part of. And I'm looking forward to the continued success of our city of Topeka. I have been pleased that I've had a number of meetings already with citizens who want to come and add their voice and their work effort to the success of our city. They've stepped forward to serve on different committees and commissions and have come up with a lot of good ideas, which follows along the lines of what the city manager is doing with this innovative team on the Innovation Corps that he has created. And so I have a bright outlook for the city of Topeka and for Mr. McClure as well. But I just want to encourage people, keep your heads up, because there is a lot still to come our way for the city of Topeka. Having said that, there is a need for 2 executive sessions this evening. If the city attorney will read, please.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 15 minutes for consultation with the city attorney to discuss attorney-client privilege matters regarding possible litigation as justified by KSA 754319B2. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers. The following staff are requested to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Manager Wade, City Attorney Stanley, and other staff deemed necessary.
Gary, you've heard the need for an executive session. There's a motion to go into session. Councilman Dober, second by Councilman Kell. We will, if all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One noted, Councilman Ortiz. We'll go into session after a 10-minute recess.
We'll chat with you for a minute.
Okay, we've completed our second executive session. No action has been taken. There being no further business to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned.